Panch Pranas, the five vital energies. If you want to understand how the separation of the physical body happens at death, you need to have some understanding of the Pranamaya Kosha, or the vital energies that govern life. In yoga, we call this prana. It manifests itself in five basic dimensions. These are called Panch Vayus or Panch Pranas. There are other forms to it, but it will get too complicated to go into it. So we will just look at these five dimensions. These Panch Pranas are in charge of various activities or processes in your body. The first one is Samat Prana or Samana Vayu. This Samana Vayu is in charge of maintaining the temperature of your body. By activating the Samana Vayu, you can activate your energies in such a way that you become less and less available to the external elements in nature. If you have traveled in certain parts of Himalayas, especially if you have gone to places like Gomukh or Tapovan, you will see some sadhus living there in the extreme cold in bare minimum clothing. These are glacial, sub-zero temperature areas, but these sadhus can be found walking around barefoot. This is because by doing certain kriyas or mastering certain mantras, you can activate the Samana Vayu and create a kavach or a shield around yourself. You can create a cocoon in your own energy whereby the external elements don't bother you so much anymore. This is not only about the cold, even the heat will not disturb you. It is like you have an internal air conditioning where both the heat and cold do not disturb you so much anymore. Generating heat in the body is one aspect of Samana Vayu, but it is also very healing in nature. If your Samana Vayu is high, your very presence becomes healing for others. Samana Vayu is also in charge of your digestive process. If your Samana Vayu is high, you will notice whatever you eat, your stomach will become empty in about an hour and a half. Your stomach should always be empty because both your physiology and your mind functions at their best only when the stomach is empty. So yogis always want to keep their stomachs empty. An empty stomach does not mean you starve yourself. You just burn up the food as quickly as possible. Samana Vayu is also related to the sun, the basic source of energy and temperature. The sun is the healing source of the planet and the body. Samana Vayu is important because one's life and its span are related to the cycles of the sun. Through the sun, planet Earth has also become the source of warmth, or a minor sun, or by itself. So establishing a deep connection with the planet will lead to an ageless sort of existence in terms of energy and vitality. With this, a yogi can transcend the solar cycles and be released from its grip. He can become independent of the physical source of life in the solar system. Such a yogi's life and death will be most interesting to witness, as without any transcendental quality, he will manage death with the ease of a breath. The next aspect of prana is called Prana Vayu, which is in charge of your respiratory process and your thought process. If you carefully observe, for every kind of thought that you get, your breath will change in a subtle way. You sit here and think about the ocean, you will observe that your breath will be one way. You think about the mountains, it will be another way. You think about a tiger, it will be yet another way. The reason why thought and respiration are so directly connected is simply because these are handled by the same energy known as Prana Vayu. Prana Vayu is related to the earth. It is the earthy in nature. This is only planet in the solar system to have a breathable atmosphere and therefore the possibility of respiration. So this is the only planet where there is an active intellect or thought process. The next aspect of the prana is called Udhana Vayu. Udhana means to fly. You may weigh 70 or 80 kilograms on the weighing scale, but you don't feel the 70 or 80 kilograms on you because Udhana Vayu creates buoyancy and makes you less available to the gravity. There are yogic practices to activate this. There were whole schools of Udhana Vayu in China where those who gained mastery over this prana could float around a little bit. You might have seen this in the movies where it is a little exaggerated, but the body becomes lighter because of a more buoyant force in the body. For a martial arts fighter, to be buoyant is important. There have been many cases where certain ballet dancers, footballers and martial arts experts have executed what all physicists believe is simply impossible by leaping up to incredible heights. They have defied gravity simply by creating more buoyancy within the body. If you have ever complete mastery over Udhana, they say you can even fly. But more importantly, if you activate your Udhana, you become less and less available to gravity. On the weighing scale, you are still the same, but in your experience, you will feel as if the body has become so light. You don't have to carry it. It is like it is floating around. This is another way of making you less of a body. Udhana Vayu is also in charge of your ability to communicate. Now, if your Udhana Vayu is active, your ability to communicate with people will come naturally to you. Udhana Vayu is related to the moon. The cycles of the moon are intimately connected, especially with the female body. Only because our mother's bodies were in synchronization with the cycles of the moon were we born. The moon, being the manager of the feminine dimension of life on the planet and the platform upon which life is built, becomes the determining factor as to when the body can truly come to an end. Once Udhana Vayu has left, the very platform that provides the needed foundation for life to build itself upon is not there. Hence, from this point on, seeking the next womb begins in earnest. The next aspect of prana is called Apana Vayu. Apana Vayu is in charge of your excretory system and the sensory function. Only when the excretory system is efficient at the cellular level will you have the necessary sensitivity for sensory perception, and hence such importance is being given to the purification aspect in yoga. When I say excretion, I mean not just the outcome of digestion, but excretion of the cellular level that needs to happen. Every moment, the cells are pushing out impurities at the cellular level. This excretory system will be efficient only when the stomach is empty. When there is food in the stomach, the digestion is in the process. The excretory system slows down. So if excretion does not happen properly, the body becomes impure. When the body becomes impure, lethargy and other kinds of dullness will settle. Once this inertia manifests in the body, it will slowly be transmitted to the mind also. So Apana Vayu cleanses the system in a big way. The next aspect of prana is called Vyana Vayu. Vyana Vayu is that which knits all these billions of cells into one organism. There have been some instances of certain yogis whose bodies did not show any signs of decay for months after their death, even though no preservation was attempted. This is particularly common among Tibetan monks. This is possible because when they die, they leave a certain amount of Vyana Prana in their body, which preserves it for a long time. You may have heard of transmigration, where people leave their bodies and enter another body. If one have mastery over one's Vyana, you can leave one's body at will. Now, this leaving of the body is not the pinnacle of yoga. It is simple aspect of yoga. If you activate Vyana Vayu in your body, you slowly become loose inside your body. Now, the question of getting identified with the body does not arise within you. This gives you a completely different sense of freedom in your life, because maintaining the awareness that I am not the body comes naturally to you. This is like if your clothes are very tight fitting, slowly you will tend to think that is you. But if you wear loose clothes, you are more conscious that these are clothes, not me. Now, another aspect of Vyana Vayu is that it is also in charge of your ability to move or your locomotion. You will see your ability to walk will come so naturally to you when your Vyana Vayu is high, even if you are not a seasoned walker. Vyana Vayu is a very important aspect of spiritual growth. It also enhances your intuitive nature. There are many more aspects to pranas or vayus, but fundamentally, this is how they affect the physical body. A basic understanding of the pranas is necessary to understand how death happens, because at the moment of death, each of these pranas recedes differently and affects the dead differently. The process of death or the process of disembodiment extends well beyond the point where the breath has stopped.